Good afternoon. We are here. We are live. I am Asia. I am so happy, so excited, so overjoyed, so um enthralled in the beauty that is my beauty of the heart space. I am excited that you're here. It is not as um, it is not as cold here as I'm making you believe right now with what I'm wearing. It's just this was today's work outfit. You know what I mean? And that's just how it is. So it's Friday. I figured out. I don't know if you noticed. I figured out how to change the thing. I am making progress. Progress has been made, and I'm grateful for the progress. I am grateful. I have extreme gratitude for the baby steps. And I feel like I have to say that because I have been working hard on my next course that I'm putting out. So, on the Creatrix Academy, I have 3 courses, I think, right now that have been fully, like, they're put in, they are ready to go. One is a scheduled course that will start at the beginning of June for those of us who are looking for like a group course type of a walkthrough on reclaiming our inner who we are. So that one is coming up. I will be putting out like stuff on that course, the reclaiming course, right? I'm putting that stuff out soon. But that one starts at the beginning of June. And yes, I understand that my procrastination means that I really should be putting it out right now. I've mentioned it. I'm mentioning it to you. So my mentioning it, I feel like that's it. That's putting it out. Okay. Um, it's out there. Then I have the divination for non-witches, which is good. It's done, which is yeah. It's out there and it goes over a bunch of different. It's not oracle. It's tarot, basically divination and being able to commune and create like that communication that you have with whatever your higher deity person, beings, um, outer realm, dishwasher, whatever, whatever that is, and finding ways to integrate that back into your life and into your heart so that you can basically live better. I mean, live better. That's all I can say. I don't know how else to say it. But the divination for non-witches, it also it's the tongue in cheek. Not all people who divinate, who divine. Not all people who divinate. No, not all people who are diviners are witches. Many use divination in their spiritual practices, and they don't have witch in them. They're not. They don't identify as witches. They're not witches. I don't know how else to explain that, but that's just what that is. Okay, so that's the divination for non-witches course. Definitely for free, as always. You can go to the website. Um, it's the link is in the bio basically, but you can go to the website and you can see for free and experience for free the 21-day journaling course, which is basically finding you, 21 days of finding you. That is still for free, still up on the site, still available, and it works. I did have a flaw with it. There was like a kink. I don't know what was going on with it, but now it's there. It's there. It's free still. For those who are looking for different ways to incorporate like the journaling portion of your practice and maybe grow that portion of your creative practice, of your self-reflection practice, the course is there. So feel free. I'm going to say a big what's up, a shout out, because I always forget. And then when I go back in on the YouTube channel and then see that people have watched the video, they've watched the replay, I'm going to say a big shout out. Thank you very much for clicking after the fact. The live has happened, and welcome. You are now seeing this live after it's happened. And I appreciate you for clicking here. And if you've gotten this far, you might as well keep going. But this is the Friday Q&A. Okay, so that's that. I've now welcomed those who have seen us in the future. This is a lot of time management stuff, right? Like, does the future exist? I don't know. But if you're seeing this and it's not May 3rd, the time exists somehow, and you're in the future, and let me know how it goes. How is the future? Is it okay? Are we still good? Are we okay? I don't know. Just let me know. Okay. So today's the Q&A session, and I said I was going to continue doing these on Fridays now, because as I have courses that are coming to fruition on the Academy site, I want to create more ways for people to ask questions, to communicate with each other, to bring in that open dialogue, right? I want open dialogue about basically anything that I've said or done online, not in real life. Not the shit that I've done in real life. You can't ask me about that stuff, okay? That stuff, that's personal. I don't care who said that's the personal stuff, okay? But anything that you've seen that I've posted, that's been in a class, anytime that you've seen a card or anything that we've talked about, and you have a question about it, because I mean, it's some questionable shit, right? It's like, what is she talking about? Like, what is she talking about? And it can be very questionable. I get it. I'm a metaphysician, okay? So I'm going to just tell you that although it is questionable, half the time there's no answers. I got a whole doctorate degree just so I can tell you half the time there's no answers, okay? And the answers that you'll find are basically going to be determined as yes or no, good or bad, worthy or not worthy, based on your own personal interpretation. Because there is no right or wrong, right? Only thinking it makes it so. There's no good or bad. Only thinking it makes it so. Just what it is, okay? And I can say that now because the universal law class is almost done. I've figured out there was, how when you're creating something, and I know I'm about to digress on this one, but you know how when you're creating something and you're like, I wish there was an easier way to do blah, 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 so that I can get blah, blah, blah done faster, since I have to do blah, blah, blah 15 times, right? I basically found the way to get the blah, blah, blah done. So I'm now able to go in. I decided in all of my infinite wisdom that it would make sense to have like a PowerPoint type of a slide showy presentation instead of me just sitting there talking with like my face, like, all up in your face. So instead of having my face all up in your face, I decided I was going to put together some slidey presentation-y format for each of the lessons in this course. This course will decide whether or not I decide to do this again in this format. And that's, I think, what I love about being able to create courses is that so far I have 9 courses, and presenting the subject in each of the courses has been different. Like I've able to come up with different ways to present each of the subjects, okay? And that's what I love. Like I told you, I'm a creator. So honestly, the part where I'm at that, ooh, it's almost done, it's almost ready, let me go ahead and get it out, let me push it out. That's the part that I'm addicted to. So I'm just trying to get to that part right now on this course. And it'll be like that for the next course as well. I promise you. Okay. But anyway, it's Friday. Hold on. I have to make sure I turned off my phone because people tend to call me at lunchtime. And I'm spending my lunchtime with you, lovelies. All right. No, that's not a question. You want stuff. Hold on. Okay. So now I'm going in and looking in my DMs. Yes, I could have done this earlier. You're right. You're right. I will do better to make sure that before noon I have figured out whether or not there were any questions. But I like to kind of fly by it. Look, this is me flying by the seat of whatever is about to happen. Okay, divine timing, all of that. All right, this is me working with divine timing and the allowing of it all. Okay. If you had a question and you put it in the DMs, I want to make sure that I found it. Now I'm looking through all of my DMs and looking through all of my messages just to make sure, because since I have 80 million different ways for people to find me, and this is not just those people who are in the community, in the Creatrix Academy, asking me questions, I want to make sure I got all the questions there. So anyway, I'm looking and no, I don't see any questions. So I'm going to go forward with what I was talking about. All right. Oh, shout out to Cece. Thank you very much, Cece. I'm going to give you a shout out, Cece. I appreciate you. I appreciate getting to talk to you. And that was fun. And like I said, I like talking to people about random things that typically we would not be talking about, spaceships, aliens, angels, God, creation, manifestation, energy centers, auras. Look, that's my vibe. That's my jizz. Okay. I'm like, yes, let me talk about it, And yesterday I had this whole conversation with two more was it elderly women, and I was surprised. I was surely surprised because I went to this meeting. It's in a different neighborhood, so I didn't know what to expect. I go to these community meetings, and I went to this community meeting yesterday, and it was in a different neighborhood, and there were these two beautiful, beautiful women. Okay, not like they just look beautiful, so they're beautiful, but they were just beautiful souls, right? Like they've put their work in on helping others. Their souls were just beautiful. Their energy was just beautiful, beautiful women. Okay. And I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. Okay. Imposter syndrome is a thing, right? For a lot of us. And I, as well, sometimes, have to deal with this. The inner talking, maybe you don't know what they know. And so why would you get in on their conversation? Whatever. Notwithstanding, I was in on the conversation. They included me on the conversation, and it was a good conversation. It was actually a conversation about, and this is what I'm going to talk about for a second, unless you ask me a question, and then I will divert my speaking and answer your question. So you have several different ways here that you can ask me a question. Okay. Get the question in there if you want your question answered. But there was this conversation, and it was basically about that fear that happens, especially in my community, right? Where the fear is, I don't want to say something, or I don't want to put my words out there because I don't want to be seen. Honestly, period. I don't want to be seen. Or I don't want to be seen as inferior in some way, wrong, bad. You know what I mean? And it does tie back. It ties back to this. Hold on. Am I getting it? No? Okay, cool. It ties back to the card that I presented this morning that happened in my reading, the card that came from the Secrets of the Ancestors Oracle. I'm gonna make sure. Let me see if this card is up front first before I know that it was like the last card that I had. Yeah, this one. All right, and it goes back. This is not the card. I did not pull this card for this today, okay? But I do want to show you the High Priestess card, okay? And what I discussed in this morning's, what I posted this morning on Instagram, so find it on Instagram, was this card. And the fact that when I pulled it, it was in reverse. And what happens is some people read reverse cards, some people don't read reverse cards, okay? Some decks I read reverse cards, and some decks I don't read reverse cards because they're not really intended to be read in reverse, all right? But this deck and this card was intended to be read in reverse. And like I said, I interpret this card. This is the, listen, you are a badass boss bitch, okay? You know you are that badass boss bitch. But let's talk about why you are acting like a basic bitch. You are not like these basic bitches. And that was basically how this card talked to me, okay? Because no, I'm not. And no, these women that I spoke to yesterday are also not. But apparently we are in a community and surrounded by people who need to hear that they are not basic bitches, people, because bitch, it's a it can be male or female, basically, okay? But that we're in a community that has not historically been able to hear that their voice matters, that they have the answers within, that they are worthy and capable of coming up with solutions and answers, and that their intuition is powerful and can be heard, can be thought, can be felt. They were not given this information. I don't know why. I don't know how, okay? But I do know this. Historically, I'm talking going back. We're going to go back on the timeline, okay? To the transatlantic slave trade, right? And when we go back, transatlantic slave trade time, it's hard to say. I know that they made it that way. The transatlantic slave trade times, okay? When you go back to those times, when a whole culture, community, tribe, group of people were then uprooted and placed on a boat, ship, okay? Some of the first things that were done to this group of people was, in effect, cutting at the throat, the energy here, the throat energy, the speaking truth to power, that communication portion of it is when you're talking about communicating out with your deity and bringing that communication from your deity back in. You have to bypass the throat, you have to bypass the heart, okay? And you get into this power center down here. We discussed that. It's down here, you can't see it, okay? But we discussed that power center that's down there. We discussed that like last week, and it's still a thing, okay? But to get down there or to get up from there, you got to go through the throat, you got to go through the heart. And some of the first things, when you think about it, some of the first things that this group of people, the enslaved people, were told was, do not speak your language, right? That was your comfort. Do not speak your language, and do not communicate using that language or using your heart space with each other and with your deity. And there's a reason that that's important today, because we're now in a time, notwithstanding how people just don't seem to be able to communicate because of all the stuff that happened during the pandemic. And now we have this new brand of people who just can only speak through texting or whatever, and emojis and beep, boop, beep, boop, boop. Okay. Notwithstanding that, because that's a totally different conversation. This conversation is simply about people in, let's say, a disempowered community, a marginalized community, my people, okay, who feel intrinsically that their voice doesn't matter, that what they're loving and what they're feeling doesn't matter, and refuse now to use that voice for their empowerment. And it was done in so many different ways. Don't speak your language. Don't speak to your deity. Don't speak about your deity. Pray to my deities, which is very important, okay, if you think about it. Pray to my deities is basically, we can talk about that, okay? Pray to my deities is, that's the he's your daddy now of the culture, right? But so when we get to the idea of the high priestess, right? And now she's in reverse, and it's that you are your intention, your intuition, your thoughts, your voice, your power matters, but you don't see it because for so many reasons, for so many years, you were basically told you don't matter and you should not see it, and don't believe it. This card coming up after speaking with these women about how do we empower, how do we bring that voice back, how do we move it forward, which again, I am working on urban alchemy. So it all connects. It's all connecting. I know, I get it. It was not meaning to be a shameless plug, but it does all connect. Okay. I am still writing urban alchemy, and this is very important to me. This is me doing the work for a singular person, but transmuting that onto like a big community. Okay. It matters. Okay. But giving that voice, giving that power, and speaking that truth is some fundamental where you got to bring that, okay? And allowing people who feel like they are not heard within reason, because sometimes people use the excuse of I don't feel heard to abuse other people. And that's not what I'm talking about right now. Okay. I'm talking about the intention of healing the soul wound of I'm not allowed to speak. The noose is around my neck. I'm not allowed to speak, right? The voice has been cut. I'm not allowed to speak. Or I'm not allowed to speak to my people within my language that was comfortable to me, that was home and was my roots. I'm not allowed to speak. I think that bringing to the forefront the idea of getting to speak, getting to feel that your voice and your intuition and that connection is important and it works for you, is where my, like, that's one of my foundational purposes for being around. Okay. So if we're going to get back to divination for non-witches and creating that inner dialogue between my higher self, deity, power, microwave person, and my inner body, tangible, manifested, grounded, tangible person, the voice matters. It's very important. And your voice matters. Your voice is very important, which is why I give you all of these spaces, all of these different ways to communicate with me, with each other, so that we can get that communication going, that dialogue going. Like that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Okay. So that being said, we are 26 minutes in. Okay. So what I'm going to do, even though I did speak about the High Priestess card, I do want to pull a card for this live that hopefully will kind of sum up this live. Hold on. I did get the question earlier of what am I reading. So I'm going to go through that real quick. Hold on. All right. I'm still on the Tree of Life. All right. And this book, Climbing the Tree of Life, is actually one of the books that helped me to figure out whether or not, like, how I wanted to base my own courses, right? Because you can just talk about something or you can be about it. And I loved how this book was like the embodiment. It created the activities, the ways to incorporate the meditations, the thoughts, the actions that can be done. Tree of Life, I'm still working through, and Climbing the Tree of Life. I have several other books that I am reading, that have to do with the symbolism of it all, of and the correspondences between the Kabbalah and the the Indian traditions and the native traditions, and all of, like, just creating like that crosswalk, because I've mentioned, and it is one of the universal laws, it is all one. We're all basically speaking the same language, just sometimes using different words. And so I like that ability to communicate it, to create that crosswalk. And so that's why I enjoyed that one. 3 magic words. All right. So here's what I'm going to say. This has a lot of words in it, but I loved this book because, and I'm not going to tell you what the 3 magic words were, okay? But I loved it. I've listened to it on audio, and I have it on hard copy just because it does speak, and this is all about speaking, right? We talked about how in the beginning was the word, right? And how important the word is, the spoken word is. There is no way to get from a thought to a tangible thing without bypassing that word portion of it. And the word being one of the first of the non-tangible but tangibles, because you can see a word. You can't like hold it, but somehow it's tangible. It's not tangible. It's there. You know what I mean? It's whoa. And then being able to come up with words to describe things that honestly words can't describe. That's where we are with that. Okay. A History of God. People are always asking me, well, how do you know what you know? And I'm like, look, I read books. First of all, I read the books. But second of all, a history of God is so important because look, it goes over Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. Okay. It is a crosswalk sort of a book if you're into that kind of a thing. Like I said, if you're into the universal law of divine oneness, which I don't know why you wouldn't be, because honestly, it's like saying I'm not into gravity. But if you're, if you're into the universal laws and you understand that, we are one, it is important to know that. That book speaks to that. It's a cool book. Okay, so that's what I'm reading. I'm also actually finishing like 3 or 4 books that were in my Kindle that I did not speak about, only because they are all linked in my universal laws course, and I use them as references in there. So I would just suggest that when the course is done, maybe, jump the wait list or whatever. Let me know that you're interested. And when the course comes out, you can get in. And all of the books that I used to create that course are actually listed in the references, which is how I do all of my courses. All right. So we're going to get a card today, one card, a message to sum up this. I am shuffling. I know you guys don't think I'm really shuffling the card, but I really do shuffle the cards to find a message for it. Honestly, if the card would have fallen out, I would have used it, but it did not. All right. For this live, Conjure Woman, manifestation. I mean, look, I like it when things just. I'm like Hannibal. Remember Hannibal from the A-Team? I'm dating myself, okay? But remember, he was like, I love it when a plan comes together. I mean, there you are. Manifestation. All right. And as I spoke about the universal laws and how people only seem to think about the law of attraction when they're manifesting, the idea of being a co-creator with your deities and with spirit to create the life that you're wanting and needing to then use all the things that I talk about. Okay. If this is your jig, this is your jig. Join the community, like and share this. I'll be back with more at another time and date, right? And ask the questions. Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, but I'm going to digress again. Okay, we're on manifestation, the Conjure Woman. And how many people have been told not to deal with the Conjure Woman? By the way, this is the first card of the deck, right? Which is also like you, right? When we're talking about like the Fool or the Magician, all of these different iterations of you. So I'm going to read what the guidebook says about the Conjure Woman. And then since I see no questions, which by the way, there we go. Okay. Which I see no questions. I told you, but you ask the question, I would answer it, but you don't ask the questions. Leaky, where's a squeaky wheel gets the oil. All right. So there you go. The Conjure Woman. You can do it. Believe in yourself. And when that is difficult, believe in us, your ancestors, who have your back. This is a good season for you. If you get out of your own way and allow it to be, you are an alchemist. As within, so without. Nurture your gifts and give birth to your creative ventures. The Conjure Woman ancestor brings gifts of manifestation and creation. The infinity sign is a reminder that she is limitless, and so are you. Ancestral memory. The conjure is the African American spiritual art of hoodoo, spellcraft, healing, and divination. I mean, we've been talking about this. Okay. This conjure woman also has the energy of a traditional Zulu sangoma, a healer, diviner, and spiritual counselor. It's me. Okay. The conjure woman is a proponent of inspired action. When you feel afraid, inferior, or insecure, she is the one whispering into your soul that you can do it. When you decide to manifest your desires and dreams, you heal the unfulfilled dreams of the ancestors that came before you. Bro, this is not just about you. This is about like healing some shit from like years and years ago, like we talked about. Use your voice because they were not allowed to. Decide what you want and assume you already have it, my child. This is the magician. I am a magnet for manifesting mysterious miracles. I tell you, this is a magician. This is you. Here we are. I don't know what else I can say about that, except to say that this journey that we're on, how it's all connected, how I sit here and discuss these things and try to find new and innovative ways to explain these things, especially to my people, is what I'm here for. It's my purpose. And I appreciate you being a part of me getting to express what needs to happen for me on my path. If you are interested in joining a community where we are all working this together as creators, creatrixes, creatives, whatever you want to use, manifestors, however you want to use, whatever word you want to use, find your word and use it. Okay. We're healing soul wounds here. Okay. We are taking that shit from our past, the things that we were told we're not allowed to do, the words we're not allowed to use, and we're going to transmute those things and use those words and make those actions that are necessary for us to move forward with a more inspired life. And that's what I do. I'm going to guide you creatives and you empaths on a sacred journey so that way we can transmute this stuff into inspired action, purpose, abundance, blessings, and all of the things that you deserve. So until next time, I am Asia, the Soulful Creatrix, and I'm wishing you nothing but love and peace and many continued blessings. I will see you guys on Monday. Y'all have a great weekend. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I'm playing the bowls this weekend. Look up on the calendar. It's all there. You can find me in person. Look on the community calendar. All right. Now, love, peace, many continued blessings, and have a great weekend. And I hope I get to see you.